Hello, my name is Reverend Thomas Coughlin. I am deaf, and I grew up deaf. Both my parents are deaf, and even my grandparents are deaf. I grew up in New York. It was a small house in a small town near the Canadian border. The town was called Maloney. I had 3 siblings. 2 of them are interpreters now, and all of them are hearing. One of them is married to a deaf boy, and that's fine with me. I grew up and went to school in Rochester, New York. You probably know it for the Rochester method, which is finger spelling everything. When I was 12, my parents took me to a camp. And I went to the camp for 2 weeks. It was a Catholic camp. And I went there, and nuns had to run the whole thing, where I would talk with the nuns. And I met this person named Stan from New York. He told me about a good Catholic school. It was a religious school. And I thought about it, I thought it over. I ended up going to the school when I was 12 years old. I think I went there for about 8 years. Anyway, that was the first place I really learned about religion. I started studying that from the nuns. It was Catholic, and it taught me the importance of church and the importance of praying and having God in your life. And I think it was then that I became more and more interested in religion. In high school, I had a religious study group. And I read about a man who became a Catholic monk. He was a monk for about 30 or 40 years, until he died. He lived a full life just reading this book. And I became fascinated with the idea of becoming a monk. So all I did was read. I wanted to read more books. Because what else was there? Just reading more books. I became hooked, absolutely addicted to it. And then when I turned 19, I was thinking about how I was going to graduate soon. I was a senior. What was I going to do? Go to college, maybe? Why would I go to college? What would it take? Thought about where I should apply myself, what I should apply to. And I tried to find the school so I could become a monk, and everyone kept sending me rejection letters, saying no. Their communication would be such a huge issue. How would you pray? I thought, yeah, okay, that's true, I guess. It wouldn't be really complicated. But I could try. I really want to, and the more no's I got, the more I became disheartened. So I started writing letters to places, sending them out one by one. Hi there, I'm deaf. And every time I got one back, I said, no, sorry, I can't take you. And nobody would accept me with every letter I sent. So I didn't really know what I was going to do. Then I tried to describe myself without adding in that I'm deaf. I went to the right high school, and I was communicating with this one man. And we were talking for maybe 2 or 3 months, and then he invited me to go to his church. Oh, he asked me more about my background, about my schooling. Tell me about this word that was a bad word and I shouldn't use it. I was writing all about football. I got this letter back. It was my first one. And I was shocked. It was an acceptance letter. I don't know if I read it right. And the last line said, "This about my jobs, my skills in communication, about talking on the phone and how we could discuss this in a group." And I didn't really know what to do with the situation. So I flew out and I met the person. And oh my god, I was so embarrassed. I didn't have an interpreter with me. I had nothing. It was just an old man and myself, and I didn't really feel comfortable. So I took a plane and flew out there, and then met him. And said, "Are you Tom?" "Yes, I'm Tom." "Please, get in the car, I'll drive you there." And we talked a little bit. And when we got to the place, he took me to his boss's office. And inside I sat at the desk. And he introduced me, we shook hands. The first question he asked me was, "I've got a question for you. He asked me, "How tall are you?" I flew all the way here, met this man to discuss my future, and he asked me how tall I am. Fly back 5'10". "You understand me?" "Yeah. How else would I have said it? I read your lips." "But you're deaf, you can't talk," he said to me. "Well, I've practiced a lot. I've been doing it since I was born." And he asked me, "How old are you?" I smiled back, 21. And he just said to me, "Wow, you can communicate." He laughed. "I was worried about you. When I saw you, that you were deaf, I thought about, oh, how are we going to communicate? I don't know if I can take him." So that feels, I was scared to meet you. I feel the same way. And then for an hour we just had this discussion. And all the problems were the same. So for 6 days we talked. Didn't have an interpreter, I lip read everything. And then I flew back. 1 month later, I got a letter of acceptance. And all I could think was, oh my god, I'm starting my challenge forward, I'm beginning my life. My family, my culture, I graduated. And I was trying to I went to school to practice, to lip read more and communicate better. It was just slow progress, but I was persistent. And when college came, I didn't cry. I said goodbye to my relatives. And the first night in the group, we had this thing. There was when a boy becomes a priest. We all sat down and talked. Introduced ourselves. I'm so and so. I'm so and so. All right, I understood you. I kind of understood you. I thought, as long as I can lip read. But I did feel a little bit down, because while the communication was happening, nobody was signing. And so I asked them, "Do you understand me?" So we tried signing the ABCs, and I was teaching this person sign language very slowly. One sign at a time, one day at a time. I was thinking back to when I started high school. But now it's college. After 1 year of praying, and studying, reading, and studying psychology all at the same time, I sat down with an interpreter in my family, and the first semester test failed. I failed the test. They gave it back to me. I was like, why? What's the problem here? I studied. I had studied everything for the theology exam, and that really bummed me out. I didn't really know what to do. So I dropped out. And they said, why don't you try again? I said, okay. I took the test again. This time I studied for 2 weeks, took the test, passed with a C. Alright, I'll have to study harder. And I kept studying harder. And I knew that I was studying harder than hearing people. But I kept missing information. I had to become more and more focused, try to catch up. For 4 years, until I got my degree. And everyone was passing. All the hearing people passed, but me, the one deaf person, failed. It was really important. You had to study hard, and I tried. And I read and read, but I became stuck on that. But I did become a Catholic priest. And there was another deaf person in my community. 3 or 4 or 5 years later, I became ready. I worked for an international organization for 4 years, jumping around for 4 years. And last year, I went to this island. I went to Malaysia, to all these different places, meeting different people. And I became stuck in the city. How can I help these people with my skills? There's so many individual problems. And I tried to find the strength inside of me. Because in 3 years' time, I hadn't done that much. But now, I moved to New Jersey. And I've been there for about 3 or 4 years now. Moving up in the community.